good to have your company on Olsem 1M. Technology is an amazing tool used for improving the lives of human existence. Take, for example, mobile phones, the most accessible device globally. Mobile phones are a must-have in this day and age. This clever piece of technology has become a reliable mode of communication for families throughout the world, a billion-dollar industry that is constantly changing face. This lucrative industry has manufacturers fiercely competing each other to the point of customizing mobile phones to suit individual needs.
We revamped Android from top to bottom along those principles. So we made it 100% consistent. We made all of the features easy to find, all the buttons up front, got rid of all the confusing hidden stuff. We totally redesigned the typefaces and the graphic layouts, the grid, the colors, everything to be really bold and striking and attractive. And we've been rolling out just amazing, powerful new features that are almost like a superpower, like Google Now with Jelly Bean, where your phone is actually your companion. It knows what you want to search for before you do and can offer that information.
In 2012, the PNG Information and Communications Technology statistics showed that in comparison to our neighboring countries, PNG has the highest retail mobile market. It means PNG consumers spend higher on credits and application use than other countries because there are only 3 networks that are currently operating in the country. Having said this, 5% of the country's population have accessed the internet via mobile phones. It is considered hazardous to the younger school-age consumer.
The best thing with this mobile phone is mainly communication. Probably mainly communication.
Side lo isi mobile phone mosem all bigla Walkman all bigla line work all isi memorai. Side lo school magi need lo by Mr. because no gubla lo all school magi by usim all like all high schools come down all community schools.
You're watching Olsem 1M. We'll be back with more after the break. This is Olsem 1M, and if you've just joined us, we are talking about the use of mobile phones. Most consumers of mobile phones rely on their phones to communicate business, family, and to gather information. PNG is new to the mobile phone phenomenon. Owning a phone is a must in urban centers, and for children, it is a must-have device. Although, as schools found out, the popular device is causing too much inconvenience in most schools. Schools across the nation are experiencing an increase in the use of mobile phones on school grounds. Teachers have expressed concerns over this matter, saying that it causes a lot of distraction during class time, and it has become an added task to track down missing or stolen mobile phones.
They give mobiles to the children. Some of the children bring along very expensive phones, and it also gives us teachers hard time because when they are lost in the classroom, it's very hard to find who pinch the mobile that belongs to another person inside the classroom. It takes a lot of teachers' time. Rather than teaching, they're just spending time to try to locate and discipline the children. It's time consuming.
The principal of Tediro Primary has decided to put a ban on students not to bring mobile phones to school, as students lack concentration in class, opting to go on Facebook instead. Another school who has decided to ban the use of mobile phones is Ward Street Primary.
Well, most of the time they play with phones. Like we have already said, it's a lot of distraction. They do not concentrate, they do not listen to their teachers, and they're busy playing with games the phones have, because there are plenty of features in the phones that children are so much interested in. So hardly they concentrate with what's happening in the classrooms.
Although some students are well aware of the purpose of carrying a mobile phone to school.
It is important As in emergency cases, you have your mobile phones to alert your parents in situations such as accidents or such as hazards, school hazards, or any emergencies that comes up.
In case of emergency, example, a child gets hit or is struck badly in a very uncertain area, you can use the mobile phone to contact their parents to ring them and tell them that they have been, hurt pretty badly. Cases of injuries, major injuries, then yes, you can also call an ambulance if your parent's phone is currently unavailable or if it's unavailable.
This is Olsem. We'll be back with more after this short break. Welcome back. We had the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Amanda Watson, who is a research consultant with PNG EPSP. She shared with us some of her findings about the use of mobile phones in schools, and she also speaks of a new mobile project that could change the lives of people in rural PNG.
I think the thing we need to understand is that mobile phone access is a relatively new thing in Papua New Guinea, and that in most countries in the world there's been widespread mobile phone access much earlier than it's come to Papua New Guinea. So since we've only had from around 2007, just really in the last 5 years have we started to have mobile phone access throughout Papua New Guinea. It's still something where people are still learning, and people and institutions such as schools are still trying to work out what does this mean for us, how do we regulate this, how does this become a normal part of our everyday lives, and what's the good and bad around that. Every time there's a new technology coming into a new society, whether that be when radio broadcasting came in, or television, or even back to the days when maybe print started to become widespread, printed material through the advent of the printing press. Anytime there's a new technology, a society, a community needs to figure out and work out how they incorporate that into their lives and how they regulate that in a way that's manageable. In relation to the negative things that you said about mobile phones in schools, yes, I have heard people talk about negatives around the use of mobile phones in schools. Community members, teachers, even other students have been concerned about this. And yes, there have been schools in Papua New Guinea that have banned the use of mobile phones in schools. They've tried to ask the parents not to let their children bring the phones to schools, and the Department of Education has also tried to come up with a mobile phone policy, but I don't think this has been widely distributed or widely taken up, and I think this is still something where Papua New Guinea as a society needs to work out what's acceptable and how can we use mobile phones in a way that's perhaps not disruptive in schools, but maybe even enhancing education in some form.
I think Papua New Guinea has to be very aware of just how big a problem it's become outside of Papua New Guinea. In Australia, cyberbullying is a very serious concern. We're not seeing it here to the extent that it has been developing in Australia, but there's every potential for it to happen. If it does, I think Telecom and Digicel need to be pretty proactive in working on it. My advice is be prepared for an expansion of the use of the phones, for different uses to which they're presently being used, to increased use, particularly use of the internet and the phone. The technology itself is always neutral. It's the use to which the user puts to it. It can be good or it can be bad. It's a matter of how the person uses the technology.
So my research was on mobile phones in rural areas of Papua New Guinea. In the research, I was spending time in a village called Megiar, which is on the north coast of Madang province, and I found out that the school board had banned mobile phones in the Megiar primary school. What had happened was that a student had gone to a board member because they had been quite disturbed by some images, some inappropriate or pornographic images that had been shown to them by another student on a phone. And so a student had these images and they were causing distress for other students that were being subjected to viewing those in the school playground. So after that, the board took what I thought was a surprising step of banning mobile phones in the school. Safety and security and the use of phones in emergencies is a key use of mobile phones throughout the world. And indeed, even in my own experience, the very first time that I had a mobile phone was when my parents gave me a mobile phone when I was a young university student, and they wanted to be able to contact me, and they wanted to know that I could contact them or others if I needed help when I was traveling between home and university and those kind of things. So the use of phones as a safety measure, coordinating the logistics when someone is traveling, these are important uses of mobile phones. And yes, parents often want their children to have a mobile phone so that they can communicate with them when they're traveling to or from school. In Papua New Guinea, we're excited to be running a trial this year which will actually offer SMSs as a resource, an additional tool providing some stories and lesson plans to elementary teachers in some selected classrooms in both Madang province and Simbu province. This idea came to us from VSO, which is an NGO based in Madang, that's Voluntary Service Overseas, and the project is being funded by AusAid and facilitated through the Economic and Public Sector Program. And we're really excited to see what comes out of this trial project and to see whether in fact the simple SMS, the simple task of sending through some small amount of text could perhaps assist elementary teachers who are in rural areas with limited access to books or curriculum materials and other resources.
This is Olsem and we'll be back after the break. You're with Olsem Wanem. In recent days, we have witnessed two schools involved in fighting. The mere speculation that it all started from a mobile phone is just that. But whatever the reason, school fighting will be expected as long as children are allowed to carry mobile phones to school.
In recent weeks, the De La Salle Catholic Boys' School and the Don Bosco Catholic Boys' School encountered such a problem, and according to reliable sources, it all stemmed from a fight that was captured on a mobile phone and uploaded to YouTube last year. Without naming names and going into details, the problem has now been resolved at the school level.
And for me, this is a wonderful gesture that we are doing to strengthen each other, especially as De La Salle and Don Bosco, as brothers. I guess we were put in the limelight, our both school, in a way negatively. Now we will try to put our two schools in the limelight positively.
We are brothers. Catholic Grand Institute, De La Salle and Don Bosco. Brothers, people outside, some schools are making fun of us. They are saying, those two Catholic Grand schools are making nonsense. Like they are fighting, and what will they gonna get out of fighting? Brothers, I want to ask you a question. The question is, what will you get after fighting? Nothing now. I want to hear that. Please, can you say it louder? Nothing now. Will it add any in your certificate? Nothing now. It will only spoil your education. Brothers, let's forget about fighting.
Bear in mind that And also our brothers, you see, they should have learned something. They are wasting their time. You are wasting our time. We are wasting everybody's time. Time is money. Time is everything. In education life, in education-wise, time is knowledge. So brothers, we don't want that to happen again, and we don't want to have any unnecessary assemblies and gatherings and stuff like that. Thank you, and I'll sit down.
School fighting has always been around, and time again it is a result of certain unsettled issues amongst students themselves that have been left unresolved by their schools. A vicious cycle. No matter the era, in the end, parents are left wondering what happened.
And they said, I have a son who goes to school here, and I have sons who go to school at De La Salle. And this fight among the schools, it hurts deep within us parents. You can see how we feel when we send you to school in the morning. We expect you to come home, getting something good at school and coming home, becoming a better person in the future.
NCDC Education Board is taking stricter measures to ensure that this behavior does not continue, warning students that they won't have an opportunity to further their education in any school.
All the schools, not only these 2 schools. Now don't forget, there are 9 secondary schools which I am coordinating. Besides Don Bosco, Caritas, and other schools. Now, don't laugh. We are not happy. The National Capital District Education Board is totally disappointed. And our decision is this. We have already given the power to the police to arrest any child that promotes school fighting or street fighting. At the same time, the school administration will be advised to identify the culprits, the students who are promoting public fighting. Identify them, discipline them, and expel them. You will have no more space in any school in NCD.
There is a lesson for all in that, as parents, teachers, and students, you have the power to refrain from using the mobile phone for the wrong reasons, and not just in schools. That's all we have time for. We have come to the end of another Olsem 1 program. If you have any stories you'd like us to cover or comments you'd like to make, please contact us on the address on your screen. Until then, enjoy the rest of your viewing here on MTV.